Kip Kinkel, a tragedy that redefined the debate on youth, violence, and mental health in the quiet town of Springfield, Oregon. The story of Kipland Philip, Kip Kinkel, unfolded with a shocking intensity that would leave the community and the nation forever changed. Born in 1982 into what seemed like an ideal family, Kip grew up surrounded by stability and love. His parents, Bill and Faith, were respected Spanish teachers, and his sister Kristen excelled academically. Yet, behind the facade of a promising middle-class home, Kip's life was already shaped by struggles that would later erupt into one of America's most chilling school shootings. From an early age, Kip faced learning difficulties, repeating first grade after a difficult year abroad in Spain. Diagnosed with dyslexia, he was placed in special education, where his behavior quickly drew attention. Classmates described him as morbid, strange, sometimes frightening. He dressed in black, listened to dark, aggressive music, and spoke obsessively about violence. When asked about a family trip to Disneyland, his angry reply was that he wanted to punch Mickey Mouse in the nose. His parents, alarmed, sought therapy and psychological evaluations. Still, despite loving efforts, Kip's inner world, haunted by rage, confusion, and, later, voices remained hidden and untreated. The breaking point, on May 20, 1998, just 15 years old, Kip was caught at school with a stolen pistol hidden in his locker. Suspended and taken into custody, he was released to his furious father that afternoon. Hours later, under the torment of the voices he had concealed since the age of 12, Kip retrieved a rifle from his room and shot his father as he sat in the kitchen. Later that evening, he ambushed his mother at the garage stairs, whispering, "I love you, Mum." Before firing the fatal shots, he covered both bodies with sheets, calmly ate cereal, and listened to a mournful track from the film Romeo plus Juliet, as though numbing himself for what was to come. The Thurston High Massacre. The next morning, May 21st, Kip arrived at Thurston High School armed with his father's Glock, his rifle, a knife, and over 1,000 rounds of ammunition. At 7:55 a.m., he opened fire in the school's lobby, wounding 2 students before storming the cafeteria packed with 200 classmates. In minutes, he fired more than 50 rounds. 17-year-old Mikhail Nikolausen was killed instantly. 25 others were wounded, some gravely. As chaos unfolded, his rifle jammed. In that fleeting pause, students Jacob and Joshua Riker, along with others, tackled him to the ground. Though Kip drew his Glock and shot Jacob in the chest, the group subdued him, preventing further carnage. Their courage ended the rampage before more lives were lost. One of the early victims, 16-year-old Benjamin Walker, later died in hospital, bringing the death toll to 4 in toto: his parents and 2 students. Aftermath and discovery. Police soon uncovered the horror within the Kinkel home. His parents' bodies, a stockpile of weapons and explosives carefully prepared for further destruction. In custody, Kip attacked an officer with a hidden knife, confirming the depth of his instability. Investigators later found a chilling note, in which he confessed love for his parents, yet admitted he was consumed by rage and voices that declared him the devil. The psychiatric reality emerged starkly. Kip suffered from early-onset paranoid schizophrenia, plagued by auditory hallucinations, voices that commanded him to kill, mocked him, and filled him with unbearable fear. Tragically, years of evaluations had failed to detect the severity of his illness. Diagnosed only with depression, he had been treated briefly with Prozac before therapy lapsed. By the time of the massacre, his delusions included believing Disney and the US government had implanted a chip in his brain, and that foreign armies were preparing to invade. Trial, sentencing, and the weight of justice in September 1999. At just 17, Kip Kinkel pled guilty to 4 counts of murder and 26 counts of attempted murder. He did so, he said, to spare victims the pain of a prolonged trial. In November, Judge Jack Mattison sentenced him to 111 years and 8 months in prison, without the possibility of parole. The decision reflected the gravity of his crimes, the murders of his parents, the massacre of classmates, and the enduring trauma left behind. While the defense highlighted his age and mental illness, the court determined that his acts showed irreparable danger. "I am deeply sorry for everything I have done," Kip told the court. "I loved my parents. I had no reason to kill them or anyone else." His sister, Kristen, stood as the sole family member in his defense, begging for compassion. But the sentence was final: life behind bars. Legacy and debate. Kinkel's case ignited national debates that still resonate today. Could earlier intervention have saved lives? How should society balance compassion for youth with accountability for violence? His story raised alarms about untreated mental illness, gun access in homes, and the responsibility of parents and institutions to recognize warning signs. In Oregon, it sparked reflection on juvenile sentencing laws, influencing reforms years later, though never retroactively applied to his case. For victims' families, any notion of second chances remains intolerable. For others, Kip became a symbol of what happens when mental illness is left to fester in silence. Now 42, Kip Kinkel remains imprisoned in Oregon. Over 2 decades later, he describes himself as consumed by guilt and shame. He has earned a high school diploma, taught yoga classes behind bars, and rarely hears the voices that once commanded him. In 2021, breaking years of silence, he told a journalist, "I am responsible for the damage I caused when I was 15, but I am also responsible for the damage caused now. Every time my case is used to deny others a second chance." It is a paradox that defines the legacy of Kip Kinkel. For some, he will forever be remembered only as the teenager who killed his parents and opened fire on his classmates. For others, he is a tragic example of what happens when illness, stigma, and violence collide. The debate, justice versus mercy, punishment versus rehabilitation, continues to this day. A haunting echo of the shots fired in Springfield in May 1998.